Patagonian Prehistory, Human Ecology and Cultural Evolution in the Land of Giants, explores 13,000 years or more of human occupation in farthest southern South America. Patagonia is often portrayed in popular media and elsewhere as a windswept wasteland. And parts of the region are precisely that. But of course, this isn't universally true. And so, one of the primary questions that motivates my fieldwork and that motivated this book is whether Patagonia was truly inhospitable relative to other regions, as is often assumed, or whether Patagonia's relatively sparse archaeological record is actually better accounted for by prehistoric behaviors and technologies on the one hand, and by taphonomic and other biases on the other. So the book is broadly chronological, but centers on a few key periods in Patagonia's prehistory, chosen partly for what each can tell us about the ways that people and their environments mutually influenced one another, and partly because they're points at which Patagonia's prehistory intersects with major debates in archaeology and anthropology. The first of these is the initial colonization of the region during the late Pleistocene and early Holocene. So of course, Patagonia is the farthest place to which the initial colonizers traveled from their presumed point of origin in eastern Siberia. And this makes Patagonia particularly important for understanding the colonization process, particularly colonization speed, which is an issue at the heart of a number of important questions. So in the book, I use several lines of evidence, including a rather unconventional one, which is the distribution of tailored clothing technology. I use this to argue for a relatively slow colonization of the Americas. One of the final chapters explores a puzzle of late prehistory. Patagonia is one of relatively few world regions beyond the Arctic subarctic where farming never took root. And this is intriguing because northern Patagonians, at least, lived alongside and almost certainly interacted with farmers for about 2,000 years. Still, we seldom ask why Patagonians themselves didn't farm. I provide evidence that, in fact, dryland farming was possible and that growing populations in late prehistory would have benefited from the increased yields afforded by farming, but that risks associated with the transition from foraging to farming may simply have been too great, despite the potential benefits of the practice. So ultimately, I argue that the broad trajectory of cultural change in Patagonia owes as much to feedback between population size and technology as to conditions in the rugged Patagonian outback itself. And I argue further that although Patagonia hasn't been as central to the development of hunter-gatherer theory as, say, Australia or Western North America, in fact, Patagonia is a region without which our understanding of major issues in hunter-gatherer archaeology remains detrimentally incomplete.